In this last video, I want to share with you just a couple things that I have learned and developed for myself that I've found extremely helpful. And so I want to share them with you to allow you to make your journey more easily manageable and much more enjoyable. The first is for success, measure against the opportunity available. This applies in business and in personal. Right? In business, measuring against the opportunity available, I created a data intelligence methodology based on that. And so if let's say that there were, and I'll explain that, so if let's say there were 100 leads that came in, well, the opportunity available of how many sales do those 100 leads possess isn't 100, it's how many of that 100 actually bought somewhere. Right? And so in the industry that I came from, which was the mortgage industry where I spent time, out of 100 leads that would come through, there may only be 8 or 5 or 10 that actually purchased anywhere. So measuring against the opportunity available, if I was to measure success, then I'm getting 20 out of 100, well, I'm setting myself up for failure because there wasn't even 20 sales available to be had. Right? There were only, let's just say, 10 sales available to be had. Well, then I want all 10 sales. Well, 100% capture rate isn't realistic either, right? So what type of a market share of the sales available is realistic, right? 5%, 10%, 20%. The nuggets of knowledge and opportunity that present themselves when you measure against the opportunity make it very clear the superiority of measuring against the opportunity for success as opposed to averages or random pull them out of the air goals. Personally, we all start in different spots, in different places, in different sizes, and I think health is an easy way to think about measuring against the opportunity available, right? If let's say one hasn't taken care of themselves or there hasn't been a focus on physical fitness, well then measuring success by one's ability to turn around and go run a marathon in 6 months is setting yourself up for failure, right? Instead, what are then reasonable goals? Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't believe and want to run a marathon. Absolutely, if that's what you want to do. But it means that, okay, well, what are the steps and the phases along the way that are needed to achieve in order to get there, right? So the masculine energy tells us, I want to run a marathon, right? But then the feminine energy tells us, here, all right, but respect the process on how to get there. Within this intelligent design, happiness is defined as living a life of self-guided choices while being able to love yourself, Earth, and all of its inhabitants. And so that you can use that as a check and balance system if you're feeling frustrated, angry, or things aren't going well. Well, am I really leading a life of self-guided choices? Am I doing this because I want to or because somebody told me I'm supposed to or that I thought this is what I was supposed to do or somebody's making me do this? And you start to then, look, that doesn't mean that there aren't tough decisions to make, right? There's simple to understand, not necessarily easy to live, okay? I want to be clear on that. But when you're able to recognize where you're not living your life, now you know how to change it, right? And then from there, you can make the decision of, is it worth the change or not, based on what's needed, what you have to go through to do so. And that's where the power comes in, right? Is living life on your terms in that way. On that one, it's really easy for the fear to kick in. Well, I have to because if I don't do this, this won't happen. Or I have to have a job to pay bills. Or, look, yes, there are practicalities here. But if you believe, but I guess this is part of the faith, right? This is part of believing that you are not alone in this, that you are supported, is recognizing that when you're operating inside of your own personal algorithm, when you're operating for the highest good of all, you will be supported. Right? I mean, there's plenty of stories out there all over the place when people were, totally destitute, and then all of a sudden, something changed, and they never looked back, and things were, the life just took off. That's how it's supposed to be, right? Success is not something that's a finite amount to only go around to a few. Success or prosperity, and I don't mean that in monetary sense, is an abundance for all to have. You've just got to understand how it's meant to be for you during this time. Another one, lack of choices makes for very clear direction. Right? When you understand who you are, what you stand for, what you will do, and what you won't do to get what you want, well, then your choice, and again, then lack of choice, it makes for very clear direction. I'm not willing to do this to get that. And then lastly, this one, I cannot express how critical this one is. Only by accepting responsibility for the problem do you have the power to be the solution. Please don't confuse that with accepting guilt or shame for anything that was done. That's what I'm referring to, or fault for that matter. That's that weaponization of the learning process that needs to go away. What I'm talking about is only by understanding how we each play a part, right? Like you can't, it takes two to get into an argument, right? So only by understanding what one's responsibility is to the situation and what their contribution was that contributed to X, can they recognize, okay, well, if I stop doing X, then Y no longer occurs either. And well, stop doing X is in my power to do. So by accepting responsibility to stop doing X, I prevent Y from happening. So only by accepting responsibility for the problem do I give myself the power to have the solution, right? If all of the problems in my life are somebody else's fault, well, then how am I going to have the power to solve that? The only way that I have the power to solve that when somebody else is doing it is to control them, is to conform them, is to manipulate them. And I think we all see when that happens throughout life and in relationships. It's not good for anybody. And it's certainly not the way things are designed, and it's certainly not love. Not divine love. Remember, love does not command. Love does not demand. Love cannot be forced. And love does not obey. The last thing I'm going to say is the universe wants to talk to you. The universe wants to reestablish its relationship with you if it doesn't have one already. And if it does have one, then it wants to deepen it. Right? It wants to be, with you throughout. It doesn't want you to feel pain. It doesn't want you to feel suffering. It wants you to have understanding. It wants you to have learning. It wants you to have joy. So, hey, Graham, all of this stuff was all well and good, but like you said, there's these, these people in power, hierarchical structures. How are we supposed to live in a world that doesn't support what you're talking about? Now you're paying attention. And so what I would encourage you to do then, my friends, is to go visit engensolutions.com, EnGensolutions.com, to see what a society and a structure based on love and support and cooperation looks like. And so for those of you that are looking to experience this transition that type of way, EnGen may be of interest to you. Go in there, check it out. Look me up, say hi. While not necessarily a tip or recommendation, it is something that's really important that I do want to acknowledge, is that sometimes anybody that's gone on a spiritual journey will recognize certain stories or common themes or teachings that have occurred through various religions and belief systems. And some will say, well, what so and so said isn't anything new. That other person said that. And so, yeah, again, we live it's an inside of an intelligent design. So yeah, how many different ways do you need to hear be nice to each other before you listen and embody it? A tip or recommendation for navigating and understanding the different belief systems, traditional, not traditional, spiritual, whatever. And you say, hey, well, who's got the record of truth? The universe is about working in harmony. And so there is no religion or belief system, traditional or non-traditional, that has it all figured out. It wasn't meant to. But they are meant to work in harmony with each other to create a full understanding. And so, yeah, you will see, and remember, it's an intelligent design with, a linear learning experience. And so you will see patterns and commonalities of quote unquote divine beings or entities or others incarnating in human form to help humanity along. So instead of, humanity would be much better served by recognizing the commonalities of what these people are saying as being reflective of the intelligent design, and that these are skills, traits, abilities that we should be embodying, as opposed to arguing about which one was right. I mean, after all, look, being nice to each other, treating each other with dignity and respect, honoring, the Creator, and by the way, those, speaking of honoring the Creator, right? Worshiping the Creator is not part of the deal either. That would be like parents wanting to be worshipped by their children. That's just weird. If you appreciate what's been provided by the Creator, then treat it with appreciation and gratitude, not worship. Getting ourselves to the golden age, it's going to take a village. So please don't be bashful. If you like what I've had to say so far, come check us out. We could use your help.